You're hearing the program here on listener-supported NPR 89.1, where it's 19 minutes past 4 o'clock. Let's look at Tucson area traffic once again. Tanque Road at Wentworth Road is closed this afternoon due to flooding. As an alternative, use Houghton Road. Pronouncing words appropriately, that's part of my job. An essential part of how we communicate is to get it right. And getting it right means we do our best to say things the way they are intended to be said.
The whole dilemma about word pronunciation on radio and television is an interesting one. And when it comes to proper names in the Tucson area, there's a lot of controversy about it.
My name's David Leighton. I'm a freelance journalist for the Arizona Daily Star newspaper, and I write a column called Street Smarts, where I study the origin of street names in Tucson. Prior to about 1950, a lot of the streets in Tucson do have history. After 1950, you got a lot of developers coming in from Phoenix, California, and they're just naming streets anything.
The English language and all languages are fluid. They change, they evolve, pronunciations change. It's really important for us to recognize that, but at the same time, have some standards that we can bear out.
Plumber.
Plumer.
Plumber.
Plumber.
Plumber?
I pronounce it plumber.
My daughter, she lived on Plumer for a while, and every time I would drive past there, I would say, that looks like Plumer to me. And then I started asking folks and realized that most folks in Tucson say plumber.
Plumber, named after a guy named Nathaniel Plummer, who was the president of the Southern Arizona Bank. He was a prominent land developer. Nathaniel E. Plummer is how they pronounced it. Again, if you talk to the old timers who've been here for a long, long time, they'll all tell you it's Plummer.
Houghton.
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 And we do here at Arizona Public Media go with the family's preferred pronunciation, which is Houghton.
Boy, I'm not sure I've ever heard that.
We say Houghton because the family, the Houghton family, which is a member of the Tucson community for, I guess, a long time, says their name as Houghton. We respect their wishes and say their name the way they would say it, even though I know a lot of people around town say it in different ways.
How it became Houghton, I'm not really sure, but it's definitely Houghton. The name is actually derived from homesteaders William and Florence Houghton. They did homestead 640 acres out in the area, and Houghton Road was the western boundary of their homestead. And their home supposedly was located where Old Spanish Trail and Houghton meet. It was a tough life, even back in the late 1920s, 1930s, having to dig wells and stuff like that. They were somewhat pioneers themselves. And I think it's important, since these streets do honor people, that we pronounce them correctly.
We err on the side of pronouncing it the way the family has told us it is pronounced. Now, then we come to an exception to that. And this one's a dilemma, I admit.
Ina.
Ina.
Anna.
Ina.
Ina.
It's always been Ina as long as I've been here.
The road that everyone calls Ina is correctly pronounced Ina. Its name derives from a woman named Ina Giddings. She was the first female director of the physical education department for women at the University of Arizona. She also had a homestead out there, and as a result of that, this street was named in her honor.
Ina Giddings is an icon around the University of Arizona, especially for those of us that have been involved in sports and activity and fitness all of our lives. We heard she was a fireball, and she had lots of thoughts and ideas about the future, particularly of women in athletics. When physical education first started for women at the university, in the catalog it said that their purpose was for poise, grace, and carriage. And so literally there are photos of women walking around with broomsticks on their heads and things like that. And she took that from poise, grace, and carriage to an actual fitness and an activity level, introducing basically intramurals here on campus. The new generation, of course, is always looking forward rather than looking back, but we try to make sure that the historical perspective is still there.
Well, yeah, I mean, have you ever heard anybody in Tucson say Ina Road? I never have, not even once. I guess it's just one of those quirky things that's accepted among our population here that, yeah, it's Ina, even though we know it's Ina.
I think if we said at this stage Ina Road, people would perhaps not know what we're talking about. It's a dilemma because it's been pronounced Ina as long as I can remember, and I was born and raised in Tucson. What to do about that dilemma, I don't know. Maybe we should ask our viewers and listeners to weigh in on it and decide if we should pronounce it the way Ina Giddings originally pronounced her name.
It was pronounced as Ina. And then later on I heard that it was named after someone named Ina. And I said, yeah, but we don't say that.
I'd have to consciously think to say Ina, and if I did, everybody would correct me and tell me that I'm saying it wrong.
You know, I try to do my part. When I'm on campus, when I refer to her, I refer to it as Ina Road as opposed to Ina Road, and try to explain the historical significance of that, but it just doesn't seem to catch on.
She actually, in several newspaper articles, would write to the Arizona Daily Star, Tucson Citizen, and saying this is how it's pronounced. People are pronouncing correctly. She had a long fight. It doesn't look like she won the fight, but it is Ina Road for Ina Giddings.
Tucson.
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 Sometimes they say Tucson, but I say Tucson.
The name Tucson is derived from the Native American word Shukshon, which means loosely translated as water at the bottom of the Black Mountain, because there was water that ran at the bottom of what's now called A Mountain. It's a slight modification from Shukshon to Tucson to Tucson. And I think that it naturally happens in all groups of people in all places. Who knows, maybe the Native Americans weren't very agreeable to the idea of calling it Tucson instead of Shukshon, but that's many hundreds of years past. It's difficult to say.